Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Designer Head, and this one is going to be an interesting one. And the reason why I'm saying it's going to be an interesting one is because I'm going to be discussing something that I've been talking about for a very long time and helping other people to move from one place to another. And that would be from anywhere into UX and product design. For those of you who are new here, please like, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you know every single time I post a video. And without further ado, let's hit it. All right, so from nada to Prada. And again, I'm distracted by my watch. I am going to mute it and no distractions. All right, so for those of you who are new here, this is a channel where I discuss everything about design related, and this specific episode is going to be on the subject that it's close to my heart, and I've been educating, mentoring, and working with other people and helping transitioning from anywhere really into UX and product design. And so, as one of the sections of my YouTube channel is transitioning into UX product design, I also do monthly sessions, which typically bring in hundreds of people for a call and answer any kind of questions on a very specific topic on the subject of transitioning into UX product design. So if you're interested, please find me on LinkedIn or ADPList and follow the announcements for the next session, which technically should be coming around the end of this month. Typically, it's the last Sunday of each month is the session. Anyhow, let's dive into this. Transitioning into UX and product design from anywhere. And honestly, I see it a lot. People ask me questions of, I fix cars. Can I be a UX designer? I don't know. I'm an architect. Can I transition into UX product design? I do A, B, and C. Can I be this? The answer is yes. That's the short answer to every of those questions, right? Because regardless what you're doing and what you have been doing for the last whatever years or even months, you can still be and you can still transition into UX product design. However, one of the things that I covered in some of my previous videos is if you are doing that, then you need to be ready to, a few things. One is do not go into UX product design if you don't truly like it, if you don't really feel that you want to do this. And in order to figure that out, I highly recommend watching some videos on this platform on YouTube about what UX or product design is and what the job is like. You can always go and sign up for very cheap courses on Coursera's, and my favorite one is Interaction Design Foundation. You can always go on ADPList and other places that provide mentorship and book time with different designers in the field and actually talk to them and ask questions about how's it like, right? Because a lot of times, if you decide to go for a bootcamps do not actually explain to you what the job is like in real life. It just gives you the sugar-coated, really nice kind of story of how you transition and go make a shit ton of money. So, the way to do this, the proper way, right, to transition into UX product design, as I mentioned, is one, you gotta like it, you gotta want it. B is sit down with yourself and make a decision, because making this transition will impact your life. And I'm not kidding, it will. If you are at a job right now and you're making, 70, 80, 60, 50, 100, 150, 200K a year, whatever that job is, if you transition from that job into a new job, you cannot expect to be compensated as equally from the previous job. You'll be compensated in the new job in a new way, which means that Let's say if you're an architect, and I've met architects that have been transitioning into UX product design and are surprised a little bit because, well, shit, I was making $150,000 a year and I'm gonna have to make 65. Yep, that's the reality of things. If you're transitioning from anywhere to somewhere, you're considered to be a junior, an entry level. That means that you're getting compensated at that same entry level position, regardless if you're 25 or you're 55 or 45, doesn't matter. Regardless if you've been doing whatever you're doing, whatever you've been doing before you're transitioning into UX product design for the last 15, 20 years. It's important, yes, it brings a lot of value to you as a creative because you bring experience from a different industry. That's always more valuable than just, I've been a designer my entire life. However, you still cannot expect that this experience that you bring from other industry will be considered in any way towards your new one as an experience. Now, having said that, you have to be ready to be open to that. Not everyone wants to move from one job to another job and take a pay cut, right? A big pay cut, if you ask me, depending where you're coming from, because some people are coming from industries where they've been making their six-figure salaries, and now if they're transitioning into UX product design, suddenly they need to cut it. Why? Because they're going to be considered juniors or entry level, if you will. Now, I guess another thing to be considered about is timeframes and how long it typically takes to be quote-unquote fully integrated and getting to that point of six-figure salary, if that's what you're after, which please, I'm begging you. If the sole reason or one of the big reasons why you're transitioning into UX product design is because you want bigger pay, I would not really recommend that, because in this specific industry, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's pretty visible. We as design leaders and managers who hire people, we can see this pretty quickly. If the person is not fully committed, if the person is not really enjoying what they're doing, if the person is not fully passionate about what they're doing, it's pretty visible. And these people typically do not hold the job for too long, because we do want people on our teams that are passionate, that are there because they truly want to be there, and it's not about the money. So as much as a lot of boot camps and other, I guess, courses maybe and whatnot are making it about money and saying have this great fulfilling career, making six-figure salary, it's great. Yes, it does pay well, but at the end of the day, it pays well only to people who are truly passionate about it and doing their job because they love doing it, not because they just know how to draw wireframes or, I don't know, do A/B tests or conduct research. They're there because they truly love it. They truly want to be there. It's almost like being a teacher or being a doctor or a nurse. It doesn't always pay well, but you really want to be it, right? And that's important. So now let's say that you sit down, you've made this calculation of, okay, I do want to move to this industry, and you've made the decision. Good for you. I salute you. I've been there. And you decided that, okay, I'm doing this move. I will, excuse me, I will transition. I'm okay with the fact that I may take a pay cut, if anything. If I'm coming from a higher salary than 60, 70K a year, then it's probably going to be a pay cut. I am willing to invest the next couple of years of growing myself and learning a lot all the time, non-stop basically, to keep growing and getting to that point of six-figure salary, which will, if you start, it will take you about anywhere between 2 to 3 years and maybe a few different job switches to get to the point of 90, 100K a year. So you made a decision, you are fully aware that you're going to be taking a pay cut if you're making about, let's say, 70K. You're fully aware that you're going to need to go through some sort of education over the next half a year to a year. The 3-month or 6-month courses are not always enough. It's just a basis. Then you need to keep growing your skill set and knowledge. And you are ready to do things that you don't really want to do. A lot of times people think that I'm going to finish this course and I'm going to become a UX designer. You might be, but you probably won't, because at the beginning of your career as a entry level or a junior, you're probably going to be doing something that other people on the team don't really want to do, like synthesizing a study or tagging it or organizing information or findings and whatnot. Maybe designing, working only on wireframes, maybe just putting together prototypes. That's going to be your job, right? Not always the best and most sexy part of the entire process of being UX designer or product designer, but an essential one. So, but it's a bit tedious, so some people don't like that. So be ready for that too. But you made the commitment. You're fully ready for all of that. You're diving in. What do you do next? That's a great question. If you didn't ask, I'll tell you anyway. First thing first is to sit down and make a list of everything you know. Sounds very broad, but yes. Make a list of everything you've been doing in the previous quote-unquote life, your career. Let's say that you are, what's a good example for that? Let's see. Let me take something that is really close to my heart because I was doing my BA in architecture and interior design. You're an architect. So you've studied architecture and you've been working as an architect for the last 2-3 years, or 4 years or 5 years, and you are making the 6-figure salary because as an architect, you probably will be making that salary within a couple of years of being in the industry. Try to drop parallels. So when you're creating a list of everything you've learned or know within this industry, such as building materials, traffic flows, color palettes, building codes, plumbing systems, electrical systems, and the list goes on. Make a list of all these things because all these things will be important for you to know. So when you make all that list, right, of everything that you used to do or are doing right now in your current job as an architect, then look at everything that a quote-unquote UX designer or product designer do, right? I don't know why I said quote-unquote, but okay. Look at everything that UX designers do, and you can probably find a shit ton of information on the internet of, different opinions and different job listings and what UX designers do or product designers do. List them out right next to what you just created, the list from everything you do. And then try to identify parallels, right? So for instance, interior space traffic flow is very similar to information architecture, if you will, or navigational patterns on the website or a mobile application. If you're thinking about plumbing systems, right, and how they all organize and how they connect to different things, here's your kind of a user flow, if you will, or journey, right? Building materials, that's an identification of everything you need to do in order to kind of construct a mobile app or a website, which is what you need for that. A list of these things like icons, buttons, forms, visual elements, color palettes, and the list goes on, right? So these are, I'm again distracted. We live in an interesting age. All of these things that you draw kind of a parallel will help you kind of harness the skills that you already have from your current job and how to leverage it towards your new job. So as an example, you will learn all these things like the user flows and journeys and persona creation and research and studies and A/B testing and all these type of things. You will learn all of that through courses, hopefully courses, and then maybe bootcamp if you decide to do so. But how it will help you is when you're talking about the story, right? Because as UX designers and product designers, our core job is it's really a storytelling. It is a compelling explanation of why we decided to do certain things and why we think certain things need to be in a product and how they will help. All of that should not be just thrown on the paper as facts. It should be told as a story, because that's how you typically sell your recommendations, ideas, and so forth to stakeholders, engineers, product managers, and so forth within the organization that typically don't really or might not be interested in what you have to say, or maybe don't really want to invest in this specific feature right now. But in your opinion, they should. Tell them a story, sell it to them. Also, this will help you to kind of understand and battle a little bit the imposter syndrome. When we start a new position, we typically feel like, oh shit, I hope they don't discover that I'm full of shit and I don't know what I'm doing. But you got hired, so somebody saw in you something. Try to think about it that way. And so when you just got hired as a new employee and it's your first job as a UX product designer, harness your abilities and knowledge from your previous experience, right? Of the traffic flow and the building materials and plumbing systems and electrical systems, all these things. Try to remember how you used to draw all of these systems and how they all worked as an interconnected web, right? And that's your mental mapping, if you will, of the product and how to put it all together. So you can always harness your previous skills and move it into your new profession, if you will. But I'm talking about really high kind of a design industry, if you will, since it's architecture kind of in the field, if you will. I want to touch on something a little bit low tech. And low tech, let's talk about car mechanics, right? Let's take that. I personally have no idea how to fix my car. I don't. To my dad, maybe an embarrassment, because my dad used to be able to take a car engine, fully take it apart, clean every single part, and then put it all back together, and it magically worked. Me? Jesus, no. I have to kind of look around and figure out where to look for oil measurements, if you will. I'm not that kind of guy. I like cars, I like bicycles, I like motorcycles and all these type of things, but I don't necessarily consider myself any kind of a hobbyist or enthusiast to tune up things and tinker with things. So if we're looking at somebody as a car mechanic, as their profession, and they've been doing it for, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. Suddenly they wake up and you wake up and decided that I'm gonna be a UX designer. Make the same list that I just recommended for an architect. Literally, what have you been doing? You've been testing people's cars' emissions levels. You've been talking to people and trying to understand how do they use their car? How do they drive it? What kind of issues they see in the car? What kind of pain points they have with the car? That is a research. You might not understand that or don't know that, but it is essentially a user research. You are doing, in that moment, a qualitative user research. You're talking to an actual user of this product that you're in charge of to fix and to make better, to understand what are their pain points with that specific product. You have to remember, UX is not only digital. People think, and from some odd reason always consider that if somebody says UX design, that means mobile apps or websites. Or maybe in-car consoles and stuff like that. No, it's physical as well. Our experience goes beyond the screen. It goes with door handles or car ignition system or buttons in my car on my dashboard. And the list goes on. I mean, you can read the, I think it was Ford or Chevy or Pontiac, one of them that screwed up putting a engine button right next to an AC button or something like that, and people kept making stupid mistakes and turning off their engines in the middle of the highway. You can Google it. Fun, not so fun, but cool thing to read about. So make the same list. I was talking to people to understand their problems with the car. I was taking the car for a test drive to understand what exactly people may be experiencing. I was looking under the hood to understand or try and identify the issues with the engine. I was taking engines apart and then putting them back together. I've been replacing wheels, exhaust systems, electrical wiring in the car, sound systems, and the list goes on, right? All of these things can be drawn parallels to such things as when you're talking about yourself and you're talking about you're putting things in your resume and you're interviewing for a job, then you used to take engines apart and put them back together. That's an incredible attention to details. Just mind-blowing, because the amount of little tiny things that go into an engine for a person to remember and know how to put them back together, to me, that's impressive. I will not be able to do that. Literally, if I will ever need to, for whatever reason, take an engine apart, I will have to catalog every single part and where it went so I won't forget. Why? Because I will forget. And I will not be able to put it back together unless there's some visual cues. So that's, to me, is impressive. So if I'm interviewing somebody for a job that used to be a car mechanic and they're telling me about what they used to do in their previous kind of a professional life, to me, these things are impressive. To me, that translates to, okay, this person can definitely handle details, can definitely remember things, can definitely talk to people because they've been talking to people for so long in their previous job. All of these things can be transferred into your new career. So don't be afraid. Don't think that because you're a car mechanic and you have a passion for being UX designer because you discovered it and you think, oh my God, this thing is amazing. Go for it. Literally go for it. You don't have to quit your job immediately, and that's not a recommendation I do to people. You want to transition? Do it slowly. Don't do it, I'm gone, I'm gonna do this. And then 12 months down the road, you find yourself without a job and completely annoyed and frustrated and upset and disappointed in the entire industry. Job hunting is difficult. It's difficult for people with experience. It's more difficult for people with no experience. So keep that in mind as well, that once you do finish your course or boot camp, you might not find a job right away. It might take time. It may even take time up to a year, maybe a year and a half. So be ready for that. But you can transition, and it's pretty simple. Take a course. You start with doing some research and understanding what exactly UX is. What does it do? How the job is, talking to other designers already in the industry to understand how do they experience their day-to-day operation. Taking a course, short course, long course, to understand if it's something for you. In the midst of all that, do a project. Do a project for your friend, for your family member, for yourself. See if the entire process of being UX designer and working on that project excited you. You felt passionate. You felt that I want to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning and go draw a wireframe or a user flow, or I want to put together a journey, or I want to understand who the competitors are of this specific product and what features they have that this product doesn't. If you wake up in the morning with this kind of a burning fire inside of your chest, or maybe a belly, I don't know. Everyone's different. But if you have this thing burning inside of you that you really want to do this and you really can't wait to get to the computer or go talk to a potential user or sit and spend half a day picking through some product in the minute details as you possibly can and just trying to figure out every single pixel and every single movement, interaction, animation, macro interaction, button, icon, input fields, form, typography, and all of these things, the industry is for you. That job is for you. And we want you to be in this industry. We want people like you, passionate, eager to be in this industry, so we can hire you, so we can put you on our team. So as I said, doesn't matter what you're doing now, really doesn't. Regardless of what you're doing. Sweeping streets, fixing cars, a nurse, a doctor, an architect, pilot, a military personnel, janitor at a school, teacher, I don't know, trainer, fitness trainer, whatever that is, really doesn't matter. You don't need a BA to be a UX designer or product designer. All you need really is passion, compassion, empathy, and ability to learn for the rest of your life. Because in this industry, things change so quickly that you constantly need to be updated, constantly need to learn, and constantly need to find new things to add to your quote-unquote arsenal of tools, knowledge, experience, expertise, and abilities. I hope this video was very helpful. I truly hope that you will find this video and you will make a decision to transition because you have this burning fire inside of you. Because I love meeting people like that. So on that note, I hope this was helpful. If you have questions or feedback or disagree with me, please feedback down below this video. I answer every single person that comments or leaves a feedback. Thank you for your time. I really mean it. Thank you for your time. And I guess this is it. Once again, questions, you can always find me on LinkedIn, on ADPList, Instagram, here on YouTube. And on this note, once again, I hope this was helpful. Never stop learning. Have a great one.